Hello everyone and welcome to the final dev diary before the release of Götterdämmerung. Today we will be covering the Arts and Achievements dev diary, which will be going through how they made some features, the look of the features, showing off some art, and then doing the also important achievements, which in truth will be the priority of this video. So, bang. Yes, we're straight into the dev diary, no time to waste, because it felt to me as if in a dev diary like this, where it's kind of going through a lot of the art, all I can really do is just glaze how good it is, and the art is undoubtedly very good, but for me to comment on it, maybe less so. As such, let's just move down the dev diary, and if there's anything worth talking about, I'll try and give a few notes on it. For example, in the opening section covering the development of the experimental facilities, we can see how the different sections would be leveled up in kind of a strange mechanic. The UI doesn't look like this in the final product, specifically with the purple text, but it is interesting to look at. Equally, who doesn't want to look at some of the scientists you can get? There I see Werner von Braun, constantly tempting me with the idea that maybe one day there could be some kind of space program aspect to this game. I mean, it is always one of those funny things that they considered, satellites and all the rest of it, but that would be so late game, it might be for a different game entirely. In this image we can see how the tech tree has changed up a little bit, with some central lines coming down from electrical mechanical engineering, presumably to do with something like radio. Additionally, there are now color codes tagged to different types of research, because, as we know, by researching individual techs, you will also be researching experience for experimental projects related to those techs. So things to do with the Navy have the blue tag, things to do with the land experiments will have the green tag, red and yellow comes out with physics and air. The next section covers how they were trying to work on different ways to do raids, specifically here to do with dam raiding, which is interesting with how much clutter there is on the UI. I mean, just taking a bit more of a zoomed in look at all of these strange icons all over the place. I guess I'm kind of glad it doesn't look like this. They don't really look like they fit as part of the world, but I suppose that's why they didn't make the final cut. Next up we have something very interesting, which I'm not sure has actually been discussed in a dev diary before. We did know that landmarks are coming in the next DLC. Its level is 1 of 1, and it can have max levels depending on terrain, presumably? That is to say, can you have monuments that are upgradable? And even if Big Ben isn't upgradable, is there a potential for mods, for example, to have wonders that can slowly be built up over time, adding and adding to them, to make kind of like greater projects? I'm thinking like special buildings like Canterbury Cathedral in CK3, where you slowly build it up over time. In truth, I see a lot of potential for a landmark feature just being something really interesting. It's why I'm kind of disappointed there's less time for big cities in the game. A lot of the reflection of how the world looks is kept relatively consistent with the true scale of the planet. And for that reason you miss out on a lot of the urban conflict, and so landmarks might feel a little bit tight in comparison to where they are. Next up, it's time to gaze over the focus icons, and they certainly look good. Since we've already seen every dev diary, we kind of can go over what we know. This one is the Germany-Sino Pact Agreement, so Germany and China working together. This is the Kaiser's Great Wunderwaffen weaponry. Very, very interesting ones before. I did mention how a lot of the focuses I actually quite liked. Austria and Hungary coming in strong. You've got to love this one. My goodness, that's like it looks like a proper Roman soldier. You even see winged hussars coming in, the beauty of the river flowing through. Austria, Hungary, Croatia getting their lovely focus on the left, and the Hungarians haven't missed out either. Of course we've got, is this goulash communism? Is that what it's called? Quite funny. Keeping it quick and keeping it fast, we go over some of the portraits, such as the leader of Democratic Germany, Hans Vogel, or the German military council headed by the monarchy, if you choose to go down the Kaiser path without empowering the Kaiser. On the Austrian side, you can choose to go with a man with a very small face, or a guy who will literally bend over backwards for the Axis. The Hungarians are keeping it cool, with Miklas Harvey coming in with a brand new trendy portrait, a woman on the left who I cannot remember. I'm not sure if I'm familiar with who this is. And am I mistaken, or does that look like Otto von Habsburg? But it's not, right? Because the old portrait didn't look like that, unless he got updated with a new hat. That is interesting, because is this what he would wear if he was monarch? How peculiar. And down here, we've got the real heroes. I mean, my goodness. We've got the king. This is Leopold, of course. But some very happy chappy on the left. Even this guy. This person looks like he's straight out of a sort of Monty Python, maybe even a Carry On film or something. And then lastly on leaders, we have a series of scientists you can hire to stick inside of your experimental facilities. In truth, I'm not familiar with many of them. Oppenheimer is of course iconic because the film came out about him, so he kind of soared to the front of the zeitgeist of popular discussion of physicists. This guy's trendy hat, I think, is an air hat, which makes this Fokker of the Dutch. I think he even has a Focus with him in it. Other than that though, I'm sure there are plenty of people I'm missing out on. Heisenberg, he'll obviously be there. The guy who invented radio for the British. Werner von Braun, we obviously saw him earlier. And many more, I'm sure. Next up, we briefly cover the new loading screen you'll see when you come into Hoi 4, which means it will also be the main menu screen for the duration of this DLC being the newest. And it appears to be the Austro-Hungarian reunification, so a very old history event. Also a very interesting choice for a DLC focused on reworking Germany. I guess it does cover both Austria and Hungary though, so I guess you get two for the price of one. The next section of the dev diary covers horses, and the very first image is nightmare fuel, with what looks like the skin of a horse spread out. Pretty gross. And because this is a art dev diary, we get to see the different types of horses. From the chestnuts to the bays, the different shades of brown here are quite remarkable. I mean, the individual who went through this and individually went for all these different horse looks, this feels like it was a passion of love instead of just labor. I mean, you could have played the game with all the horses looking the same and nothing would have really changed. But having this many types of horses in a game set during a period which, in theory, was the moment that cavalry kind of became obsolete in comparison to armoured and mechanized units, it is an interesting choice to have a focus on cavalry. Oh, and jolly good, we actually get to see the landmarks that are coming. So, here are all of the confirmed landmarks for Götterdämmerung. The Statue of Liberty, well, that's in America. Big Ben, or the Elizabeth Tower, that's in London. Next up, that is the Reichstag in Germany, so that's going to be Berlin. Top right, Kremlin, Moscow, of course. Moving to the bottom left, we've got the Christo Redemptor, or Christ the Redeemer. Bottom, that is the Palace of Austria for the Habsburg Palace, I believe. Bottom right, we've got the Colosseum. On the right, we have the Eiffel Tower, that's in Paris, of course. And lastly, in the middle, seems to be that mega German idea. I should really Google what it's called before making these videos, but I never do. Hey, maybe it's for the best that I don't know what that building's called, but I would imagine it's going to be a buildable wonder in the game, as opposed to one that just appears randomly. We did see the leveled building system with Big Ben. Helicopters. Yeah, I don't even know what to say. I mean, we're certainly into some interesting worlds of old history when helicopters start appearing, but some of them really do look goofy. I mean, what even is this? What is this going to do in an actual 1940 situation? Because this looks like something that was barely pioneered at the end of World War I. How is it going to have use in World War II? I have no idea. What I do like though is how you can actually see the continued development, how they start off pretty bad, but slowly they get worked on more and more, and by the end, you're kind of getting helicopters that look getting much closer to the ones you see today. It's a slow process of innovation, but it does get there. Following on in the footsteps of future technologies that 90% of players are probably unlikely to see because getting there is such a long time, we see some motherships, those massive long-distance planes that can carry smaller planes. Or equally, if you want something truly from the future, you can try your hand at getting supersonic jets. I vaguely remember the Comet was something that could commonly pop up as an event, but now actually having a serious, dedicated system for building up supersonic planes, all with unique models and experimentation and moduling and specific breakthroughs, it is an interesting idea. I just wonder still to what extent this kind of thing is going to be the difference between winning or losing wars, or is it just a novelty? But on this final image, we have something I don't care how popular or meta it is. I want to build rockets. I want to build many rockets. I'm going to build all the rockets. You cannot stop me building the rockets. They just look cool. And they have like an animation for when they launch. I saw it in a video once. It looks very cool. All this makes me want now is a mod, because I doubt it will ever be a DLC, but a mod focused on the space race. Who can get to the moon faster? You've got to prototype ships, you've got to train astronauts, because we've got scientists now. Werner von Braun is in the game. Now it's about astronauts. You need them as characters, you need to train them, you need to give them experience, and then you need to set them on, raids or operations, whatever you want to call them, to test certain equipment, and then see if that rocket can get you far enough, and if it passes a check called Freshmac, you can push it even further, unlock new modules that can give you even more range, to figure out if you can land a man on the moon in this decade and do the other thing. Not because it is easy, but because it is hard. I do have to say though, if you're a fan of Millennium Dawn or any kind of modern day mod, then you are going to be eating good tonight, because of all of the aircraft carriers that look like a modern aircraft carrier, this certainly is the most aircraft carrier looking one I have ever seen. Ah yes, there is the rocket I was looking for. I knew they had a launch animation as you see them go and follow this red path trajectory, because of course now launching a nuke is a raid in and of itself. Okay, so some of you may have come here straight for the achievements, and if so, welcome, because now we're going to go through all of the achievements and give our guess on whether we think they're going to be good or bad. I guess it could be a toss-up. As is typical with this kind of thing, I usually give things 4 ratings: easy, kind of average, hard, and world conquest. World conquest being the one saved for when typically the requirement is so ridiculous it requires you to go to war with maybe 3 majors or 2 different factions that effectively you might as well just go to war with the entire planet. First up, we have Anti-Schluss. As Austria, control all German starting states. I think from the offset some people might think this is hard because Germany is such a monster, but because it's Austria and Austria has a focus tree now, I wouldn't be too sure. You have to remember that a lot of German strength actually comes from things like the Anschluss and annexing Czechoslovakia. If you can form, let's say, Austria-Hungary faster than they can do stuff like Anschluss, you'll deny them Austria because that's you, Czechoslovakia because that's you, an ally like Hungary because that's you, and then you just need to go in alongside the Allies when they try and take down Poland. You will have to hold the Sudetenland, but honestly, you should have the forts to do it. I'm going to say it's medium, maybe at the higher end of medium, but maybe not too hard. No friends, only family. As Austria or Hungary, led by a Habsburg monarch, control the Swiss plateau and have at least 3 other countries be led by a member of the Habsburg family. Right, so depending on the likelihood chances that different countries accept the request for a monarchy, because as we've seen, in some of the Habsburg tree, you have the option to convince other nations to put a Habsburg monarch in control. So in doing so, it really depends how likely they are to say yes. If they're very likely to say yes, this is easy. If they're very unlikely to say yes, then fighting the Swiss in the plateaus is going to be so painful. Oh god. Let's just stick it as a medium, because we're not entirely sure. Edelweiss Edelweiss. What a strange name for an achievement. I'm Sure, that one's flown straight over my head. As Austria have a coastline, at least 10 battleships, and have George von Trapp as an admiral. Unfortunately, I don't actually know how you get him as an admiral, but I do know about getting a coastline. Luckily, trying to get these things as Austria through Austria-Hungary, it looks to be pretty straightforward. For the battleships, yes, I acknowledge, it's going to be a nightmare, but you have something different than when we used to do Hips Don't Lie for Gran Colombia, and that's that you can take navies in peace deals now. So, one war with Italy could land you a pretty serious navy. After that, it's just the question of how do you get the admiral. Since I don't know, I'm also sticking this one in medium. They just kind of seem to be not too easy, not too hard, but if you know what you're doing, pretty manageable. Otto Mann. As Austria, or Hungary, led by Otto von Habsburg, controlled the starting states of Austria, Hungary, oh no, Czechoslovakia, Romania, Bulgaria, Greece, and Turkey, as well as the states in Polish Galicia, Slovenia, and Croatia. Okay, let's look on the bright side. This isn't necessarily a world conquest, but it could leave you accidentally finding yourself in one. I mean, the Germans are going to want to come after you, whether you have Czechoslovakia or Poland, and after that, by having Romania and Poland, the Soviets are going to want to come after you. As well as that, any world tension you might cause by trying to take all of these countries could land you at war with the Allies. Nothing is necessarily forced on you, but it kind of seems to suffer. The only caveat I can offer is that it doesn't appear that you have to own all the states, merely be in control of them, so you won't necessarily have to go invade the Americas. Stick to yourself. I think you could maybe avoid a world conquest. I'm going to stick this one in hard. Spark of Genius. Very good, I see what they did there. As Belgium, with Paul Henry Spaak as your country leader, research at least 10 different special projects. Spaak is both the historical and alternative democratic leader of Belgium, I think to do with the European Union if I remember, but I could be off on that. And also, the special project requires you to have a building in with a scientist in it to research them. So even if, for example, Belgium gets capitulated, it might be possible for you to just make him your leader and then go live in the Belgium Congo, should you annex it. Then build an experimental facility there and just use that to research some special projects. Maybe I'm being overconfident, but I can see plenty of ways for you to kind of mingle yourself around this and maybe find a way to get this done pretty easily. I'm going to be bold and say easy. Brentry. As Austria, Belgium, or the Netherlands, be the leader of the European Union and have the United Kingdom join your faction. I know something that is for certain is if the EU only requires you to be the leader, it's not necessarily forming the EU like it is a country, it's just talking about the faction. And if that's the case, this could be relatively easy, maybe a low medium, if you stick the game on a historical, because then Britain will not be democratic, will lose all their allies, lose their faction, and you can just hop over the channel as, the Benelux in some capacity, and go take them down. Then you puppet them and they're in your faction. In short, I see a few ways you could probably mingle your way around this so that it isn't that bad. And it certainly isn't a world conquest, so I'm going to say it's probably like a low medium. Oh, and it's a funny Brexit joke, in case that wasn't clear. The 501st Legion. As Belgium, have the national spirit, the Rexist Legion, and be in control of all of your starting neighbours' capitals. Right, who's bordering you? France, Luxembourg, Germany, and the Netherlands. Now, if I remember correctly, the Rexist Belgium does have the option to work alongside Germany, and if that's the case, maybe you're allowed to take control of France's Paris. If that's the case, maybe you can then betray Germany at some point and then work with the Soviets to take them down. If that's not the case, it is just going to be you trying to fight down the Germans. I'm not sure where your allies are if you've gone Rexist Legion. This one could be hard. Unless there's some way I'm missing. My gut is telling me it might be hard. Congolese Belgium. As Congo, break free from the shackles of your old overlord and take control of all their starting states. Okay, so breaking free from Belgium I don't see as an issue. The player will always have 10 times more agency and ability over any miner in the game. That's easy. The issue is the distance between the Congo and Belgium. Like, because they've made the modifier for distance for joining factions, who are you even going to get access with to get all the way over there? And even then, by the time you get over there, Germany will have invaded. So what, do you have to go to war with Germany? And if you do, you can't join with the Allies because then you're going to be liberating Belgium. And it doesn't say liberate Belgium, it says take control of Belgium's starting state. Maybe the game plan is you go communist, join the Soviets, get access through their land, then naval invade through Soviet land across the northern tip into Belgium. Oh my god, it sounds like a nightmare. Just stick it on hard. It's going to be hard, isn't it? Oh, that's annoying. The Lenin boys are back in town. The boys are back in town. As Communist Hungary, bring back the Lenin Fuke and take control over Leningrad. If I was to guess in its simplest terms, this is basically as Communist Hungary, aligned with Lenin, go to war with the Soviet Union. That's really it. And the question then becomes, can you do this by working alongside Germany? Hopefully they don't try and take too much control over your territory, but assuming they've pushed far enough inside, maybe if you could get a border through Romania, I could imagine this being possible in some situations. Assuming you can work alongside Germany, I'm going to say that's possibly on the easier side. Maybe the medium if you encounter some resistance. A great hunger. As Hungary, proclaim Greater Hungary and control all your historical states. Now I'm pretty sure even in like the current version of the game, controlling all your historical states is just asking for territory, and Germany gives it to you. You know, you ask for Slovakia, you ask for Transylvania, you ask for parts of Yugoslavia, and then you're kind of done. So, is this going to be really difficult? If it's as easy as it was before, I'm going to say no. It's pretty easy. Also, they're hungry for Hungary, because they're hungry. Weltpolitik. As Germany, take control of all your former colonies. World conquest alert. That has to be a world conquest alert. I mean, unless everybody in the world is super concessionary and doesn't mind giving you back like the African colonies. Oh my goodness, you're gonna have to go back to Asia, the Americas, that place in like Southeast Asia. Oh good lord, it doesn't stop. Yes, I can totally imagine that's a world conquest. So unless people are very accepting to your demands, that's a painful one. Naval arms race. As Germany, led by an admiral, capitulate the United Kingdom. Super easy thing to do, capitulate the United Kingdom as Germany, especially if you take down the French Navy. The only question is, how easy is it to become led by an admiral? We already know there are ways to take down the Führer, and there are quite a few different paths. Maybe Karl Donitz can become part of something. He did overtake and become leader, didn't he, for a bit? So maybe wait it out long enough. Yeah, maybe it's easy. It's the question of how do you get the admiral that really puts the question in. Woman in a high castle. As Germany, with a female leader, Victoria comes to mind, either annex the USA, including Alaska and Hawaii, or have an American puppet that owns all the American starting states, including Alaska and Hawaii. Okay, so for somebody like me, who kind of knows how to play Germany, that's easy because I know exactly how to get over there. It's France, it's England, it's taking Canada, and then it's taking down America, all before 1940. After that, you have to do the trick to get Victoria. Job done. The question then becomes, is there any other way to do it? It depends how many female leaders for Germany there are coming in the new update. American Prometheus. I am become death, the destroyer of worlds. As the USA have Robert Oppenheimer complete the Manhattan Project. Pretty straightforward. Basically anything you have to know about the experimental project system is carried on over there, but the only good news I can offer you is the USA is pretty untouchable in historical mode. So it's easy. You just have to AFK and research the texts relevant to the Manhattan Project, and it should work out. Easy peasy. My goodness, how long does this go on? Tsar Bomber. As Tsarist Russia complete the special project for thermonuclear bombs. Ooh, this one's a difficult one. I think for quite a few players they might stick this in the hard section. The problem is that Tsarist Russia is good. The Civil War can be a bit annoying, but it's doable. The problem is that Germany is an ever-present threat, and they are going to come for you. And you're spending so much of your time and resources preparing for the counter-offensive and defense of Russia after you become Tsarist, because you effectively destroy yourself trying to become Tsarist, that do you even have time, energy, and resources to develop thermonuclear bombs? Maybe, but I think a few players are going to struggle. I'm going to stick that in hard. Super heavy metal. Complete the special projects for intercontinental bombers, land cruisers, and super heavy battleships. This is going to be easy. I refer back to my earlier statement with Oppenheimer. Just go play America. Nobody can touch you. You can do whatever you want. Backfire. As the United Kingdom, complete the special project for medium-range ballistic missiles, have a rocket site, and be at war with Germany. I refer back to my previous answer with America, except this time, just make sure your navy is out in the English Channel and the North Sea. That's like the only caveat I'd stick in there, green air. Other than that, you can AFK, do your special projects, nobody's coming for you, don't worry about it. Okay, and for the final three, we have, damn it, successfully execute a dam busting raid. From what I've seen, the raids don't necessarily seem too impossible to do. You can probably do this after a few attempts. It's not going to be something you're going to be bashing your head against the wall to, finally achieve. I'm going to stick this in easy as well. A lot of easies back to back. Bullseye. Successfully launch a raid on a landmark. A lot of countries, I'm imagining, you can probably start attacking them after the events of you beating them. So, to give you an example, you're playing as Germany, you're invading Russia. If you're a player, you're probably going to be doing a lot better than most. So in that circumstance, you can sort of surround Moscow, don't take it, then actively plan a raid on that landmark, and you'll have so much authority at that point. How are they going to stop you? They're not going to stop you. So it's probably going to be easy. You just need to be well prepared. And finally, the true successor. As Luxembourg, led by Charles Marx, control both Brussels and Trier. Okay, well, it's not a world conquest, but it's definitely hard. I'm afraid to say Luxembourg does not come with a focus tree in this expansion, and so it's literally you, a generic focus tree, and a pretty good war. I'm sure the Germans won't mind you coming for the city of Trier. At least the only good news I can offer is it does just say control. So maybe if you can... Okay, here you go. It's hard, but I'm going to give you a potential for it being a medium. Play as Luxembourg. Go fash, not communist. Declare on Belgium, declare on the Netherlands. Win, good luck. If you win, people have won, you can win. Form the Benelux, and then join the Axis. Wait out until D-Day, but never join the war. Don't help the Germans, just AFK, don't do anything. Then, while that's going on, flip communist, leave the faction, join the Soviets in their war against Germany, then quickly push in from the east when the Germans weren't expecting. There you go. That's my bet on how you could maybe push this down to a medium. And with that, we have reached the end of this dev diary. Sorry if you felt it went on too long. I guess I just had some things to say and maybe offer you some advice about how you could maybe approach some of these achievements with the little knowledge I have to offer. We have reached the final dev diary for Götterdämmerung. All that's left now is for you to play the game. And so with that, I will say thank you very much for watching. This has been quite the dev diary cycle, very unique for me in some ways too. We could be on track for one of the best DLCs for Hoi 4 yet, and I hope you're excited to play, as am I. I'm sure I'll have some videos coming out covering the new DLC release, and if you want to see them, then please, feel free to like, feel free to subscribe. I'm sure there'll be some CK3 in there too, and then I'll see you all very soon. Maybe the real achievement is the rockets we built along the way. Bye!